Kevin Huerter, Atlanta Hawks guard, joins me live right now on the program. Kevin, thanks for making time, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Great rookie season for you. What's been the biggest surprise, the biggest challenge, the thing you didn't anticipate about life in the NBA?
Biggest thing I didn't anticipate is probably all the free time you get, and for how much you're working out and how much you're on the court, and for how long the season is. You have so much time to yourself that's spent on the court, and unfortunately not like college, like everybody's used to, where you have all your friends around you and you get to do different things. And you hear a lot of guys really kind of on their own. You have to figure out a way to make use of your time.
All right, so you and your backcourt teammate Trae Young are called Fire and Ice. Are you a Game of Thrones fan? Have you filled that time re-watching Game of Thrones in preparation for the final season in a few weeks?
Yeah, I was going to watch the final season here coming up. And when I was in college, I watched the whole entire thing, so I'm definitely a big fan of it. But, yeah, that was a picture I think a fan tweeted at Trae. There's Sunday he retweeted. It was a Fire and Ice thing. He kind of picked up on it, and it hasn't stuck too much yet, but it's kind of a funny nickname for sure.
Amazing nickname. Only prediction I'll ask you for in the interview, who's on the Iron Throne when it's all said and done?
The Iron Throne, that's a really good question. Definitely have some predictions what's going to happen with the White Walkers, but Iron Throne could really be anyone. I don't want to make a prediction with that one.
All right, I'll just throw Jon Snow in there. You can go with it if you want to. I want to ask you about Trae. I mean, he's been incredible of late. A lot of pressure on him where he was drafted, traded for Luka Doncic. You see him up close and personal. What kind of a player can he be going forward? What kind of a backcourt can you and he be going forward in Atlanta?
There was definitely a lot of pressure on him right away, and it's kind of pressure that he never asked for with the trade on draft night and how great of a start that Luka off to. And Trae kind of got a lot of heat for that, and it did bother him a little bit just with every single night, whether he wanted to or not. It was people were always comparing him to stats of what Luka was doing that night. I feel like in a way he couldn't just be himself and he couldn't play. And then, just like I've realized as a rookie, it kind of takes a little bit off your feet and get used to the NBA game. And really, for the second half of this year, he's been unbelievable. And he's been the rookie of the year in my eyes. And he's just gone into every single game and he plays confident. He plays like he was in college, and every team has to go in a game plan on him just for how dynamic he is offensively and what he can do with the ball.
He's been incredible. You've been impressive. I know you guys haven't had the season that you want, but in the NBA, it's a longer timeline sometimes to get to winning than it is in college. What is the future for the Atlanta Hawks, and how quickly do you think that future, the future you guys want, can arrive?
Yeah, we think it's bright. And, that started really last year when I think, Travis was brought in, and, this year with Coach Pierce getting brought in, and, rookies like, the three that we have, and with John already being here young, we think it's bright. And really since the All-Star break, we saw a stat, and we averaged the most points in the league since the All-Star break. We're really kind of starting to figure it out offensively. We've turned that up now on the other end of the court, but going into this off season, obviously the core group that we have is going to obviously work really hard to get better, and I'm sure if we're not bring in one or two more draft picks with us and any type of free agents. And so we think it's bright, but we're not trying to skip steps. Just keep getting better every day.
Yeah, Trae Young gets compared a lot to Steph Curry. You mentioned Travis. That's Travis Schlenk, the general manager. He was a top official in the front office of the Golden State Warriors, and having talked to Travis and people around the NBA, there's this anticipation he's going to try to create a similar thing in Atlanta. I know he was really excited about you, about Trae, about the guys he got to draft. Are you guys aware? Do you think about what happened in the Bay, what the Warriors became, and the comparisons, not just to Trae Young, but to the entire team trying to do that in the East?
Yeah, really. We know just the Warriors before the Kevin Durant signing, they're all homegrown, and they went through a little rough patch after the Baron Davis years where they're kind of trying to figure it out, and they drafted Steph, drafted Clay, drafted Draymond, and they kind of built it from the ground. And those guys are obviously the franchise, and what they've been able to do really the last 5 years is incredible. But I think that's really the blueprint of the NBA is, everybody's trying to be like the Warriors, have guys on the court who can pass, shoot, and dribble. And and can switch defensively and just be really tough to guard. And so we're trying to find our own pieces and figure out how we can make everything work.
Kevin, one of the coolest moments, I think, of the NBA season, Dwyane Wade and his goodbye tour, his retirement tour, really neat moment between you guys. I covered Dwyane earlier in my newspaper writing career, my columnist writing career before I was doing this. You were I think you were 5 when Dwyane Wade was a rookie. Can you talk to us about that moment, what it meant, and what Dwyane Wade has meant to you and to the game?
Yeah, that was crazy. And really all growing up, not only myself, my brother, my friends, we all idolized Dwyane Wade. And, I watched a lot of college basketball growing up, but the NBA I did watch was D Wade. And we used to have his shoes. And, he was one of the reasons I wore number. He probably wasn't the only reason, but he's always been someone that we've looked up to just with the way he plays, how hard he plays. And, he does it right both on and off the court. He's somebody who's with the same franchise for the major part of his career. And, then once I finally got to this level and was able to play against him, that was incredible.
All right, one last NBA question for you, then I want to talk a little March Madness with you. But you've had a chance, obviously, you're in the Eastern Conference, to see all the teams. And there are a lot of really good teams atop the East. Based on what you've seen, based on the teams that you've played, who is, in your mind, if you had to make best guess, the team that's best equipped to come out of the East and challenge whoever it is from the West in the finals this year?
There's really a couple. And, everyone, you look at Boston and Philly and Toronto and Milwaukee is really, really good. But, the Pacers can surprise some people with how hard they play. And, if I were to pick one, I think it would be Milwaukee, just with the level that Giannis is playing at, and then the type of team that they've been able to build around with Brook Lopez being able as a 5 to space the floor and shoot for him, and Chris Middleton and Malcolm Brogdon, the way that they've been playing and played so defensively. I just think they're a really complete team, and right now they might have the best player in the NBA.
Kevin, you're a Maryland guy. Big Ten, really impressive tournament, and not in every case, but in at least one case, Big Ten teams went down to Big Ten teams. Michigan State had to play Minnesota in the second round. What's your assessment of the conference you played in last year, just in terms of how they've comported themselves in the big dance?
It's been great. I think the Big Ten has proved themselves all season long. Whether that started with my team, Maryland, or Michigan has been great all year. Purdue, it's crazy how Purdue can rebuild. And they lose 4 starters from last year, and then they still, I think they won the Big Ten or even tied for it. And going into the tournament as a 3 seed, and obviously Michigan State is the same way. Really good every year. They lose 2 lottery picks from last year, and they're still able to do what they do. And so, Big Ten has been great so far, and it wasn't that teams had to play each other, but I think we're definitely well represented.
I know it's a heartbreaker for Maryland. My family's from Iowa. We had our own heartbreaker against Tennessee. Are you able to root for Michigan State, even though that's a rival, or do you root for LSU, even though they just beat you? Who are you hoping wins that next game?
It's tough. Obviously, you don't want to root for either team, but I'll be rooting for Michigan State just for the Big Ten tie. I thought Maryland, that was a game that they could have beat. LSU, obviously, Waters made a great play down the stretch. But if LSU were to go far in that tournament, it's tough not to think about as a Maryland fan. It could have been. So I'll be rooting for Michigan State.
You know what? That's an unfair quote. We'll just say that. I'll just say this for you. If Virginia Tech doesn't beat Duke, go Duke. Take down LSU or Michigan State. Avenge Maryland. Kevin Huerter, really enjoyed the conversation, man. Congrats on the success. It's really fun watching what you guys are building in Atlanta. Appreciate your time and hope to do it again soon.
Thank you very much. Seriously, thank you for having me on.